Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
From Asthma Core Studios near Detroit, Michigan, it's Unregimented.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
And now, here are your hosts.
Welcome to Unregimented number 302. I'm Chris.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Rich.
So we've kind of skirted around politics last couple times, huh? This seems not that we need to address it on every podcast, but I don't know, it's good to take a break.
And there really hadn't been,
especially at these moments,
earth shaking.
Well, especially at a moment like this where things are really getting volatile, and whatever you think of the process is in motion of impeachment, right? So we'll see what happens for it. So I'm paying attention to what's happening with impeachment in general, but I'm trying not to get too bogged down in all the details of this because it's going to play out how it's going to play out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just kind of satisfied that it is happening, understanding that the end game is the best that we can hope for is a little bit of political damage, take the sheen off of them a little bit, enough to shave off enough points to possibly get them out of office next time around.
Or the reverse happens. So it is going to be an interesting...
Or the reverse happens, yes, absolutely. I'm just saying that... It's
going to be an interesting couple months, I'll tell you that. Just in time for the holidays, too. I'm sure Thanksgiving is going to be super awesome for a lot of families.
Yeah, I don't talk a lot of politics with my family. Occasionally with my parents, but not often. And I know that I'm sure I have a lot of family that voted Trump, but I've heard through the grapevine that some of my family members who voted for Trump last time around are sick of the guy as well.
There's quite a few people that have been that were excuse me, Trump supporters in 2016 that I knew personally that are like, yeah, this guy's fucking clown shoes. I'm like,
I want to say to all those people, we didn't see this coming.
And I'm like, a little bit of buyer's regret.
Mm-hmm. Right, where, impeachment may not be getting through to them, but maybe a story like, this was just before we started recording, so I didn't actually get a chance to read the story, but it was basically somebody in Trump's administration having a press conference admitting that there was zero wall that's been built.
How much money has been spent on zero wall? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Whose pockets are getting fatter on the wall not being built? But, remember, the mafia is bad, the government's good, so.
Yeah, I was trying to see if I could find it real quick, but there's just too much going on. I mean, honestly, you look at your news feed and it's just like 85% impeachment now.
Yeah.
And impeachment related. I mean, this is the gift that's just going to keep on giving, regardless of what happens to the president. I'd still get some satisfaction out of at least seeing Giuliani being put through the meat grinder, even if he doesn't serve any time. I mean, this guy is admitted to criminal behavior, like on TV to reporters and voicemail messages when he butt dials them.
Wait, what?
That
really happened?
It was kind of a big story a couple of weeks ago that a reporter got a call from him. It was I think it was late at night, I believe, and they didn't answer the phone, but saw that there was a voicemail that was left the next morning. And when they listened to it, it was Giuliani talking to somebody else. And he was talking about money. He was like, we're going to need a lot of money to fight this Ukraine thing. And then when that came out, like many other reporters came forward and were like, oh, yeah, that's kind of a thing, actually. Like, he just butt dials reporters.
It's like a Saturday Night Live skit.
First of all,
he texted
butt dials
a reporter
in 2019.
Just this last week. He texted his password to a reporter.
Was he like, I'm trying to reset my password. I want my new password to be.
I haven't butt dialed anyone since 2008 when my phone stopped having buttons on it.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
I see his next tweet is going to be like, big boobs nude.
It's like that meme that the father's like, big beautiful women, blah blah blah. And they're like, Dad, this isn't Google. Big black cock, Dad. Stop tweeting this.
Interracial. Oh, that would be a scandal.
Has any politician in our lifetime, at least, pissed away more good faith equity than
from
Giuliani?
Rags to riches, or riches to rags, I should say.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah, quite the fall from America's mayor to America's crazy uncle.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, Oh, Jesus. It would be sad if he didn't have a hand in running the country. I mean, it is sad, but it'd be like actually sad. It'd be like, wow, dude, you're kind of pathetic. But it's like, wow, he's pathetic and he's got the presidency here to an extent. This is terrifying.
Which is why it drives me nuts that people can't understand this Ukraine thing. Like, oh, what's the big deal? He's just, this is what presidents do. I'm like, just the chain of command that's been laid out that everybody's admitted to. Giuliani does not work for he's not in the cabinet. He doesn't work for the White House he works directly for Trump.
Man, he's Trump's lawyer.
He is Trump's lawyer. That's it. He hasn't been appointed anything, and he shouldn't be setting any policies or negotiating anything with anyone. So how do you know it's crooked? I mean, forget about the transcript. Just look at the chain of command. Did it go through ambassadors? Did it go through official channels? And, there's a reason for those official channels, and it's not just, red tape. It's accountability.
Exactly. It's a paper trail.
Yeah. Everybody in government needs to be held accountable at the end of the day, including the president. But again, it's a means to an end. That's at this point, if you're still supporting Trump, you have no faith in the American system, and I don't know.
Or you're just dug in.
Or
that's also a thing.
Well, dug in, I guess, but it's the idea that all that matters is results, right? As long as I'm quote unquote winning, it doesn't matter the process that happens. If somebody's rights got trampled, if crimes were committed, it doesn't matter. It's all for the greater good because it benefits me personally.
And yeah, you can
turn that around. I mean,
you don't even have to. I'm listening to NPR on Monday, and I'm listening to these Republicans sit here and go, what is the point of holding an impeachment hearing less than a year before an election?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. And I'm like, kind of like with Merrick Garland. Like, seriously, you people are going to sit here and talk about proximity to an election and ridiculousness? You don't.
I wish I could remember the senator's name, the one on the Democratic side, because it was Jim Jeffries who was saying that. I believe is the quote that you were thinking of, because I heard it as well. And he goes on to say that, this sham process where we're not even allowed to bring forth the person who started all of this in reference to the whistleblower, right? But that he just left it at that. He said, we're not the person who started this whole mess. We're not allowed to question. And the Democrat response was from one in particular. Again, I can't remember his name. Older white dude said, actually, we would love to have the person who started all this
have
come
Trump
and testify,
take a seat.
and the president can sit right here and tell us all what happened. This focus on the whistleblower thing is kind of insane because, first of all, you've got to know that by revealing that person's identity, you're possibly putting them in some sort of direct physical harm.
Absolutely.
And also, it doesn't matter what the whistleblower says anymore. The whistleblower is just the instigating thing. It's the, hey, wait a minute, stop. Something's going on here. Somebody with some power and authority should check it out. And they did, and they got testimony that corroborates what the whistleblower was saying. So it doesn't matter. We don't need him anymore. But yeah, if I didn't say this earlier when we were talking about Giuliani, he is actually being investigated for campaign finance violations and bribery. Probably the same thing. He probably used campaign finances to bribe somebody.
Have any specifics come out, or just what he's being investigated for?
Again, this is just right before we started recording. I can scan through the story real quick and see. I wasn't really that curious beyond that because I can only assume what this is. This is a result of the Ukrainian investigation.
Yeah, would make sense. I'm just wondering about specifics is all. Didn't he also have to go have the Apple store unlock his phone recently? There was some kind of story that, he's been put in charge of some type of security, but he had to go to the Genius Bar to get his phone unlocked or some shit like that.
You know what? I take back everything I said about David Hogg making fucking jokes about old people not being able to work technology. Send David Hogg to Giuliani's house to help him with this shit. He's 17. He can fucking figure it out for him. Good Lord. I just imagine first of all, Giuliani does still have VCRs at his house. I imagine that. And they're all blinking 12. Seriously, come on, man. Way to lean into the stereotype.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell from scanning this, I don't believe that they have made public the details behind the charges.
Well, it won't matter because it's charges. You mean witch hunt? Jesus Christ. Yeah, that was something that was interesting to hear. A reporter asked Trump about the whole impeachment hearing. He's like, I don't know about that. I know about a witch hunt or something along those lines. And I'm like, oh, really, dude? Really?
You got to give the guy credit. He knows how to flip he's good at trying to change the narrative.
Guys, I'm sorry, we weren't recording.
Oops.
Oh, wow. Did we lose all of that?
Unless Rich still has his
I
recorder.
do. It's
cool. Rich saving the day twice this week.
So we can just pick it up.
Yeah.
Through saving the day. Through pure fuckery. I bumbled into doing something right. How Trump of me.
Saving the day like Hillary, right? She's going to come back and be like, guess what, guys?
I'm back.
And everyone will go, nobody asked for you to be back.
I'd really like to believe that. But, what is the term I heard? So, someone coined a term for, like, middle-class, middle-aged white women who want Hillary back in the race. Oh.
Twats? I'm sorry.
Quants. No. No, it was like...
I mean, what is that you say?
It was like something about wine. Like, like wine women or something like that. Like you had Bernie Bros. This was like the wine women want. Wine as in drink, not wine as in complain. And I'm like...
either way.
Yeah. Yeah, we have mansplaining and manspreading. We can have cunt-plaining and wine women. Yeah, that works. But, and I'm like, really? And then my little brother was like, that's a real thing. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, my mother absolutely would be ecstatic if she got back in the race. And I'm like, oh, God, Jesus, really?
Well, yeah, right, because that celebrity shit, it doesn't just work on Republicans. The Democrats go in for it too, and she's full on celebrity now. Yeah,
almost more so than a politician. I just, God, I didn't understand completely her comment about Tulsi Gabbard being a Russian asset, because I didn't when it was first brought up to me, I didn't understand the context of what she was saying, and then I heard what she said in the context, and it was like she's going to siphon votes away from Democrats who aren't going to be happy with like a Biden And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, in that case, it's a stretch to say it's a Russian asset, but it's like...
Well, yeah, but the idea... Somebody else was called out by saying they wrote a op-ed piece that said that Trump is a Russian asset and he has been since like 89 or some shit, and it was criticized for that. It was like, oh, come on, you really think he's a Russian asset? But let's understand the definition of the word asset and the difference between an asset and an agent. Mm-hmm. An asset doesn't mean somebody like recruited you in some smoky room. Doesn't mean that you're the fucking Manchurian candidate lying in wait. It just means that you're a useful idiot is what they call you, really. It's a type of asset that has no clue what they're doing, no clue if what they're doing is benefiting, the party that you want to, your side, what you're fighting for, in this case, Russia. They just can be easily steered. They can be easily influenced in certain ways, or just used in Tulsi Gabbard's case. It would be beneficial for Russia to promote Tulsi Gabbard as a candidate, just because they know that she has very little chance of actually winning, and would be harmful if she did run as a third-party candidate against the Democrat. Also, it just so happens that Tulsi Gabbard's politics align quite closely with both Russia's and Turkey's, in as far as she's a firm believer of having absolutely nothing to do with the Middle East and leaving it up to the locals, which is going to be, again, Russia and Turkey.
Well, I mean, I hate to be this guy, but then that really kind of paints her comment in, yeah, she's kind of right. Mm-hmm. I mean, not even kind of. She's right. I mean, let's be honest here. In 92, I think Perot siphoned a lot more votes off from Daddy Bush than Clinton. I mean, there's political historians who will die on the hill of saying we wouldn't have had President Clinton if it wasn't for Perot running in 92. Yep. And people forget he got 18% of the vote. That's not anything to sneeze at. That's quite a bit. So,
and it takes a lot less than that to actually throw it these days.
So I mean,
you take 4%, you could tip the election.
Yeah, especially with 2000 and 2016. You didn't win the popular vote, but you won the electoral vote. It's way possible. So that makes me think. So if she comes in and says, "Okay, I'm running," is she only going to run if she gets the Democratic nomination, or will she try to run if she doesn't? She's made
hints that she would run as a third-party candidate. Yeah, I don't think that she is. I don't think she's I mean, you don't really run it as a Democrat and come out and say, "By the way, if running as a Democrat doesn't work out, here's my plan B." But she said things that would make one think like, oh, she may run no matter what.
Yeah, that's where it starts to be a problem in my mind, because then you are doing exactly what you accused Gabbard of doing.
Right, but yeah, people hear Hillary say this and they immediately think, oh, Hillary thinks that Putin's just going to install Tulsi Gabbard like he did Trump. And then Tulsi's going to do his will. No, nobody's saying that's going to happen. Nobody's saying that she's going to be president. You don't have to be president to be an asset of another country.
Yeah, but the other part is, do we want just Coke or Pepsi? Do we just get rid of third-party candidates? Because that's how you fix this problem.
Right, but that's kind of a separate thing. I mean, do I want a third-party candidate? Yes. Do I want that third-party candidate's popularity based on promotion from an outside country? No.
And I mean, look, that's a problem that does need to be addressed eventually. Is now the time to address it? I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, we have this buffoon in the White House.
Third party in general?
Here's the thing. If someone from a third party wants to run because they truly believe Trump is inept and shouldn't be president of the United States,
they'd be running as a Democrat.
Then, they need to check their ego and go, the important thing is getting this buffoon out of the fucking White House. That's the important thing. All right. And that's where I'm not convinced that a lot of these people who, go into hysterics over Trump, but they want to play, this porridge is too warm, this porridge is too cold, I need it just right for their candidate to run against them. You really don't care about getting Trump out of office. You care about pushing your agenda. If Trump is as horrible as you make him out to be, then you will settle for the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, it should be whoever. It should be whoever. You should be back.
I mean, because we don't have the luxury of playing. We tried this in 2016. We don't have the luxury still of playing this game. All right, unless you want another 4 years of Trump.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you, and I'm with you on that subject because I think what's at stake is actually the strength of our democracy. On the other hand, if their prime issues aren't being addressed by either party, then what does it matter for them to get Trump out of office if it just means getting in a Democrat that's going to be just as bad?
Well, that's where I go. Okay, what's your issues? Yeah. If they're legitimate issues, okay, that's fine. If they're little, like, tiny little things, I agree with 99%, but this 1% I don't. Get the fuck over it. Grow up. It's called compromise. Adults have to do that all the time. Babies get what they want when they want it all the time. Adults compromise. That's how life is.
Never thought of it that way. And I think too, Barry's quote creeps in an awful lot nowadays. The letting perfect be the enemy of good.
I thought that was Brian Eno.
Well, maybe Barry's a Brian Eno fan.
His taste is work.
He is half white.
My white side listens to the Brian Eno stuff. Well, I get it. I understand, especially when I talk to people and they're like, I don't like this candidate because I feel like this candidate's been bought and sold by corporations, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm just going, do you really think you get to the level of running for president and you are a serious contender without taking money from somebody who's like, I'm giving you this, but you're going to remember me down the line? A lot of pockets get greased to get politicians or a lot of pockets get money shoved in them to get politicians where they're at.
If you're in the House or a Senate, there's a lobbyist in your wake somewhere.
And it's just this childish idea that, oh no, these people are beholden to nothing. It's not reality.
Well, okay, but if I was that person and I was to make their argument for them, I think I would say that there is corruption on both sides, yes. To say that one side is less corrupt than the other, so I should vote for the less corrupt side, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. My main issue would probably be something like campaign finance reform, which is the only way that you're going to end any of this type of money corruption in politics. And if neither side is addressing that, and both sides are corrupt, then I probably would be looking for a third-party candidate. I don't think that person is the norm, though. I think that's the far outlier. I think everyone's lined up on either side of Democrat and Republican, and we have this kind of undecided middle. But I mean, well, look, I guess we've seen in previous elections what percentage of the voting population actually gives a shit about those types of issues. And it's generally less than 3%, because that's about the most that a recent third-party candidate has gotten, if I remember.
Sounds about right.
I was going to say, he sounds right. So sure, let's go with it.
Why was it so different with Barreau? Like, what was it about him, I wonder, that
he funded himself, allegedly?
Yeah.
I think also maybe Daddy Bush really, really, really burned a lot of bridges with his base with read my lips, no new taxes. Mm-hmm. And Clinton has never not had stink on him. And I think that's what you had a lot of people who were like, I don't like either of these guys. And
so that boost that Perot received, it wasn't really about Perot. It was more about a fuck you to Bush, but I ain't going to vote Democrat for the first time in my life.
I honestly think so.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the first election I was like highly aware of the inner workings of what was going on. You know what I'm saying? In 88, I just remember, Dukakis on a tank, and Bush, being Daddy Bush being Daddy Bush. I really don't remember like why people were, for or against, because I was 11. People didn't discuss that with 11-year-olds at that point in time. At least not in my family.
My 8-year-old boner remembers Donna Rice on the news. That's about it from that election.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
But I mean, campaign finance reform. It's one of those things that I think candidates. It's one of those issues candidates can trot out, and it plays well with certain people. But isn't it kind of naive for us to think that the people who benefit from the corruption that comes from lack of campaign finance reform are going to be the ones to take money out their pocket and solve that problem? I mean, it's like if that's your one issue, that's the issue you're voting on, then don't vote. It seems to be the only way to fucking handle that issue. We go through this every time there's a police shooting. Oh, the police are investigating the police. Oh, that'll turn out well. Mm-hmm. You really expect politicians to take money out their pocket? At least enough of them high up enough to actually enact some change. Then you got more. Then to quote the song, Mister, you're a better man than I, because I don't have that much faith in these people.
Hey, Rich, we have to worry about installing paper ballots that are hack-proof before we take care of any of this.
There's another level to that, because, how our system is set up is that the politicians, if it doesn't benefit them, they're not going to do it, of course, but, the ultimate non-benefit is being voted out of office. So if the people demand it, then it's going to get done. But the other layer to that is that in order to, you might think you might be a Republican or a Democrat and think that, it would be a good idea to get the money out of politics, but it's like saying, who's going to drop their gun first? Am I going to push this issue and then it's my guy who's got the unloaded weapon because I demanded campaign finance reform, and now this guy, my guy is going to lose because he doesn't have the money that he would have had in the old system, right? He wouldn't have been able to get the millions and millions of dollars from donors that allowed him to run the campaign that he wanted to get elected. So it's not just like, am I going to, vote myself out of a job? It's that are we going to fuck our own best chances at staying in power as a party by pushing this issue?
Well, that's... Hey, man. You take high risk, high reward. You take risk to make change.
Yeah.
And if
the person who writes that bill is a marked man in whatever house writes that bill. And
if John McCain was truly the maverick he was, he'd have wrote that bill and been like, I'm dying of cancer. Fuck you people. I don't care. What are you going to do? Kill me? That's what it's going to... I mean, I almost feel like that's what it's going to take. It's going to take someone who's walking around a dead man. And the reality, we're all walking around dead. We just don't know the time or day. But someone who's been given the death sentence to go, you know what? Fuck it. Let me blow this bitch up on the way out. Because this isn't how it was set up to be. And it's corrupt as fuck. But I just don't see it happening. I mean...
Well, no, and you couldn't do it. Like, look at what happened with Dodd-Frank. It just gets undone. Mm-hmm. Like, it never even mattered. And unless we're willing to actually talk about these things like being constitutional amendments, so that somebody else isn't going to come along and either tweak it so it gains it's positive for their side, or just scrap it completely. This can't even just be done with normal legislation. It's just going to be this game of tennis going back and forth. It's like environmental regulation. Somebody comes in and says, hey, we want to save the polar bear. And somebody else says, yeah, but there's oil under there. The next party comes in, yeah, but we still love the polar bears, remember? The next party comes in, oh, but there's still the oil, remember?
Well, yeah, too, because even if it does come to a constitutional amendment, a president can undo it. So it would just be the world's worst game of tennis or hot potato or fucking whatever metaphor you want to use.
No, but that's what I'm saying. The president can't just undo a constitutional amendment.
Well, I mean, the president can wipe his ass with the Constitution because we've seen that for almost the last 3 years.
Right.
So.
He can completely ignore it, but he can't just erase it.
Isn't that how Prohibition got undone?
Well,
I feel like I should know more about this issue, but I don't. Yeah. Ken Burns, where's your documentary?
That's possible. But I don't think that was a result of one president getting a bug up his ass about prohibition.
The president, to get an amendment removed, the president signs the repeal, then it's sent to the states, and 3/5 of the states have to ratify the.
Okay, so that's not.
It's the same thing for the. It's the same process for doing and undoing. You want to install one, you want to take one away. It's the same process.
Right. Okay.
Well, yeah. Excuse me.
You know what? We've said this before. I'll say it again. You take $1 extra out of my paycheck. All right, 350 million people. That's $9 billion. You just put in a big old pot for elections. A year. So you can raise $36 billion every election cycle by taking one extra dollar.
Mm-hmm. That's plenty, as long as it's distributed evenly. But, that's the other thing. If you do campaign finance reform that way and you take taxpayer dollars only allocated to, to a candidate based on, I don't know, poll numbers, party support, I don't know how you do that. This just solidifies the two-party system. Right. True. It might do something for corruption, but it would do nothing to undo the stalemate that we have between Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, you're right. It installs Coke or Pepsi permanently.
Yeah.
You no longer have Fanta. Fargo, get it out of here.
I mean, honestly, I don't think that our chances of opening up that system to a viable third-party candidate, not as a fluke, not as a oneer here and there of like, oh, but didn't you know that so-and-so got elected here in this district that nobody's ever heard of, as like an actual option of, a party that is in power. I forgot where I was going with that. Hey, feel free to jump in here if you hear me flailing like that.
Something. Maybe it's just me, but something seems counterintuitive. I mean, I'm not shitting on the idea out of hand, but something seems counterintuitive about let's get rid of money corrupting politics by just giving politicians money.
Well, no, but setting the money, right? So not having raising money being part of your campaign. Like if you want money for travel and for advertising and organizing and all that, you have a set amount.
Yeah.
And that's it. So the idea of somebody coming in saying, hey, I'll donate, I'll figure out a way to funnel my money. I've got $3 million in an account. I'll split it up, send it through all these different PACs, but it'll all get to the same place in the end, and you'll owe me a favor. You take that out of politics.
Yeah, it would,
and I would take it, honestly. I think that's what I was trying to say. Is it would be worth it for me. We're not going to get a third party candidate on a regular basis. So let's just let's at least try and clean up the money corruption.
Yeah, it takes the deepest pockets win out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
Because
we've tried to find ways to put up dams to how the money river flows, right? And say, well, you can only donate X amount of money and corporations can only do so much. And money is like water. It finds a way, right? You put up a dam, you try and divert it, you build a channel and say, oh, only so much water can go through here. Water will go where it wants to, and it will find where it's needed, and so will the money.
Yeah, that's why I preface what I said with I'm not shitting on the idea, out of hand. I'm just, like I said, it's one of those things. It's like I can see where you say where you guys are like, this is something we could try, they could possibly work, and I get it, but it's just like
it's because money has to be there, right? It just because signs cost money, a campaign manager costs money, commercials cost money.
Right.
So money has to be in that equation. I guess we're just trying to figure out how do we make it fair?
Well, fair, and also this idea, I mean, again, maybe this is kind of a moot point in the age of Trump, because money equates to eyeballs ultimately. The more you can get your candidate's message out there through websites, through TV, through all different types of media, and all that takes money, then the better chance you are of being successful, because some people are just going to be like, I saw that guy on TV. He's got a thrusting face. Or
you just go the Trump route and be batshit crazy enough to where everyone talks about you for the entire cycle.
Right.
That's what I was thinking.
The other thing. Like, you can do it without money, too. So does money really solve your issues when you can just say outrageous things and you get 24/7 coverage on the news channels? Yeah. And it equates to the same thing. A person saw you on TV enough times to go, well, he must be trustworthy. They don't just put anybody on TV, right? Right? I mean, put aside the fact that this person just switched over from a reality show where somebody was screaming at somebody else, and they're going, can you believe these people out there? Don't let anyone on TV.
Well, yeah, I mean...
but they're covering Trump so much because he's a very stable genius.
Yes.
And he has perfect, beautiful phone calls.
Don't forget, he's got the best words. So many words.
Hey, perfect, beautiful phone calls. Like, hey, turn down the lights for me, all right? I'm going to call Putin. Okay, put on the Barry White.
So, Vladdy, what you wearing?
What's up, Vladdy? You got your shirt off? Of course you do.
Are you on a horse? Of course you are.
Oh, please. Putin rides bears.
No,
bareback.
Wasn't there? There was a viral photo of him that was out a few years ago. He was straight up. He was riding a horse bareback, shirtless.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, of course he was. Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
It's, oh, God. Think of the most ridiculous thing you could think of. And I never thought I'd say this. And Russia and America's president, there's probably a picture of him doing it at this point. We just haven't seen it. It's like, oh, God. Why? You're a politician. Put your shirt on. You're not Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
What the fuck, dude? Oh, God. Isn't he like a really short guy, too? Like, isn't he like 5'5", 5'6"? Yeah. Like, when I found that out about him, I was like, it kind of is starting to explain some stuff here. Okay, I'm starting to get it a little bit. He's got a little Napoleon complex going on. All right.
Yeah, he's like Tom Cruise size.
He's pocket size. He's fun size.
Pocket size. He's a pocket sized world leader.
Oh, you're a little pocket sized dictator, aren't you? Look how cute. Oh, now that sounds like a Saturday Night Live skit. But
did you guys hear that Mark Epstein, who is the brother of Jeffrey Epstein, is talking to reporters this week, saying that that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
We knew that. I'm sorry. I know it's tinfoil hat material. I know this, but I'm sorry. All the people that guy was connected to, I'm not buying. He killed himself. I'm not. Sorry. I'm rewinding
really.
to 2 months ago.
Absolutely. If you laid this out on one of those crazy people CSI boards, all the strings would lead right to Epstein, and you'd look at it and go, what? I don't see anything. There's no pattern here.
It is kind of amazing how many people are like, they would bristle very much at the fact of being called conspiracy theorists, but when it comes to this one subject, they're like, oh no, that ain't no conspiracy. That's just the truth. He didn't kill himself. And it's like, okay, so we're all on the same page and we're going to do nothing about it. Outstanding. We're just going to sit here and take it in the ass, huh? That's what we're going to do.
And then all that circumstantial stuff with the guards and like, so someone was sleeping and a camera was like, there's, no, man, there's just, there's too much shit to be, it's crazy, he killed himself.
Well, his brother also says that Jeffrey Epstein was innocent, that he was not trafficking women.
You know, he's one for two.
Yeah, I don't know if those jive with each other, actually. I mean, do you kill yourself if you're innocent? Like, if he was innocent and went through the process and was found guilty and went to jail and then served some time and then we found out he hung himself, I'd be like, yeah, I could go either way on that. Maybe he was innocent and he was just like, my life is fucking ruined. I'm sick of this shit. Doesn't even matter whether I'm guilty or innocent. I'm fucking rotting in jail. But before you ever hit trial,
before you get a chance to sing, to start naming names, to shave some years off, maybe get a little bit of a lower level prison. Whether
it was suicide or murder, it kind of says that you're guilty.
Well, he's right. He's kind of right because Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill anybody, including himself. So he's kind of right on that one. Yeah. So, you know. Well, it's a swing and a miss. You took your hacks. Good for you, buddy. You know, I mean, it's even people who like consider themselves very, there's no conspiracy that has ever been true, and it's like, well, wait a minute, I can pull up a list, and I don't even need Google for that. And they're like, no. If it's true, it's not a conspiracy. It's like, okay, even they're like, he didn't kill himself. No. That's ridiculous. And then what? The autopsy comes out, and the medical examiner's like, well, this bone was broken in his neck, and you can't break that bone unless you're strangled. And everyone's like, yeah. Government's just like, you didn't read that. It's okay. I mean, seriously, it's some gangster shit. It's like, I saw you do it. No, you didn't. No, literally, you came in, you robbed me with no mask. No, I didn't. I got it on camera. No, you don't. It's just gangster shit. And we just take it. It's like, it's amazing to me. If there's proof that you can get away with anything if you're high up enough, if you needed proof of that, look at this situation.
Right. But yet this is proof that either somebody involved with Trump was the murderer or somebody involved with the Clintons was the murderer. Whereas in my mind, it just says, I think this was a bipartisan issue.
Yes. Amazingly, they crossed the aisle on this issue. They got whose name in that book?
Well, both.
He's got to go.
There's two issues that they came together on: fucking kids and killing Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah. You know what? People have been saying we need to unify this country. Kid fucking and killing Jeffrey Epstein. That's what's going to bring us together.
So, no, I can't even say it. Okay, we need to molest more kids and then pin it on somebody and murder them.
Hey, R. Kelly's already halfway there.
Move on.
R. Kelly's just a pack of cigarettes away from the second half. You know what I'm saying? Like,
the only thing that saved R. Kelly is that he was greedy. He wanted them all for himself. He's like, I ain't selling any of my women.
Which, by the way, as a side note, on Netflix they have the that R. Kelly the documentary that came out like a year or so ago that pretty much kickstarted this back into public consciousness again. And I half-assed watched an episode, and I'm just like, wow, okay. There's like no doubt. I mean, like, people that defend him, I'm just like, how are you still defending him? This is Bill Cosby levels of accusers, with all the same story, and they're naming names and dates, and and other people are backing it up who have nothing to gain from anything. And it's like,
Bill Cosby's sitting in jail being mad that he was such a shitty dancer.
Who knew if you could sing, you could get away with murder? Well, not murder. Well, no, that's if you can rush for 2,000 yards for the Buffalo Bills. But, you know, who knew if you could sing, you can get away with child molestation, sexual assault. Oh, man.
We've talked about this 100. It seems that whole sexual assault wave just didn't even touch the music world.
And look at who it did get. R. Kelly. Someone who is so egregious in his... he married a 15-year-old.
But
you know
do we have to go through just music history in general? Jerry Lee Lewis, Elvis, Michael Jackson. Anthony Kiedis wrote in a book how he fucked a 14-year-old, like back when the Chili Peppers were coming up. Like, but apparently, if you can write a song, we look the other way. I don't understand.
Led Zeppelin.
Yeah,
and not only that, but then write songs about it. She's only 17. Hell, she was 16 years old. She was sweet 16.
Did you hear Adam Carolla today?
Yeah, what was the song that they were...
Christine 16 by Kiss.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Are you serious?
Yeah.
I don't know the Kiss. I don't know the Kiss backlog enough to know if that's real or not.
Well, he's got a whole bit where
Statutory Rape Rock.
Yeah, Statutory Rape Rock, about all the songs from the 70s and 60s. It just... We kind of just gloss over that they came out today. We'd be like, what the fuck is this?
She's just 16 years old.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking of, that song.
Leave her alone, they say. And they told them right off the bat. Like,
the police.
Yeah.
And the video's even worse because he's creeping through her window in the video.
Yeah. The video is crazy. He brings a rug. He brings like a rug into her room and spreads it out for them to lay on.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And then they go on a magic carpet.
You know, because they can't hump on the bed because it makes too much noise. It's like,
it might wake the parents up.
We'll stay here on the floor where we can be quiet.
Good God. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, even like...
I think the Me Too wave just stopped just short of the music industry because they were like, what? Okay, but then we won't have anything fun to listen to.
Yeah.
Guys, do we really want to just be subjected to nothing but Taylor Swift and Beyonce? We have to pump the brakes. I can't do it, guys. I can't. Oh. Yeah, even songs that like I never really paid attention to. Like, what is that?
You're beautiful in your mind. You.
Oh, I think it's a song. The band's called the Outfield. It's an '80s song. And he's like it's buried in it's not right up front like the Into the Night song. Like he doesn't start with the line, but it's pretty close. I think it's in the first verse. He's like, I usually like my girls a little bit older, and I was like, wait, what? I've heard this song a million times, and I've never put two and two together. Like he's talking about fucking an underage chick. Jesus Christ! Is
that I Fooled Around and Fell in Love?
No, that's Elvin Bishop.
No, it's Your Love. It's their big hit.
Yeah, it needs your love tonight.
Yeah, you're right. Josie's on a vacation far away. Come around and talk it over. So many things that I want to say. You know, I like my girls a little bit older.
Yeah,
a little bit older.
Just a little bit, not too much. Just this side of prison. This side of getting my cheeks busted. I like him on this side. You know.
Second verse. I ain't got many friends left to talk to. Nowhere to run when I'm in trouble. You know I'd do anything for you. Stay the night, but keep it undercover. So he's like, yeah, you stay the night, but let's not tell anyone about this.
Here's a lollipop. Now walk it off.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, that's a song. Like, I know a lot of the song. Like, I hardly ever hear that Into the Night song anymore on the radio. Even in, like, you know, when you walk into places and they're playing, like, 100.3 is our adult contemporary safe for work radio station here in Detroit. I don't even hear it on those stations. But I do hear that Outfield song on, like, every 80s revival station, which are all over the place now because apparently we're now in the classic rock demographic. And I'm just like, how is this song getting away with this? Is it because people just literally just listen to the hook? Was Blues Traveler that correct? It doesn't matter what I sing as long as I sing it with inflection?
Yes. You know, that whole song was they just wrote lyrics to Pachelbel's Canon. They teach about that song in music composition classes.
Wait, what?
The hook by Blues Traveler. It's Pachelbel's Canon. The music. The music is it's obviously not the exact arrangement, but it follows the same arrangement as Pachelbel's Canon.
I don't know if I've heard the song. I probably have.
You'd know it if you heard it. And then the lyrics are him just saying, like what Rich said, like, doesn't matter what I say as long as I sing with inflection, you're going to listen to it anyway.
Because the hook brings you back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's... Once again, I'm thinking of that Chappelle Show skit where he's a potential juror, and they're like, Michael Jackson. He's like, innocent. Be like, how could you say that with all the evidence? He wrote Thriller, man. Thriller.
Well, people always forget when they always leave out the end of that sketch. Would you let your kids stay the night at Michael Jackson's house? Oh, hell no.
Yeah. Excuse me. That was an old Eddie Griffin skit. He's like, I love some Michael Jackson, but my kid ain't sleeping in the same bed with that motherfucker. I don't give a fuck. He's like, that ain't happening. Like, hey, Eddie, I love your comedy. Can your son come over? Hell no, motherfucker, no.
Eddie, I love you.
Woo.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net.
A different future starts with you. That's why GoDaddy does more than help you find a name. You can create, sell, and get found online, so any small business can drive change or build an empire. Because old ideas aren't cutting it anymore. This new year, we need a new generation of thinking, your way of thinking. So whatever you have in mind that will help make a different future, find everything you need to get started at GoDaddy.com. Because the future isn't decided yet. It's still ours to win. Start different at GoDaddy.com.
ChristopherMedia.net. Unregimented.
Oh, speaking of Eddies, have either of you guys watched the Dolomite biopic or biopic?
No, I need to.
Word of mouth on it's pretty good.
It is funny as shit. Eddie Murphy, I love Eddie Murphy, so I mean, you know, I'm an easy sell on that. But Wesley Snipes steals that movie. He really does. Oh yeah. I was shocked. I was like, oh, okay. Like you forget you think of Wesley Snipes as like Demolition Man and Blade, and you hear the stories about like he stayed in character to the point where Ryan Reynolds is like in an interview, and they said, so what was it like working with Wesley Snipes? He goes, I don't know. I never met Wesley Snipes. I only met Blade. But you know, it's easy to forget that he did do what was it, Tu Wong Fu?
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, He is self-aware enough to take the piss out of himself at times. And yeah, he plays a rather extravagant actor turned director who's just like, I don't want to ruin anything. If you haven't watched it and you got Netflix, highly recommend it. Let's just put it that way. It's definitely a good way to pass about an hour and a half. And yeah, Aaron, you called it when we first talked about it, when we heard it was being made. Rudy Ray Moore was more punk rock than fucking every bad pop punk band that come out of the 90s and 2000s. He was just like, fuck it, we're going to do it. Like, I didn't realize, I mean, I knew everything was on a shoestring budget and everything that, you know, the movies he made was, you know, essentially the true independent movie, like Kevin Smith Clerks style.
Yeah.
But I didn't like, they literally moved into an abandoned hotel in it wasn't a crack neighborhood at that point. But you know what I'm saying? Like in a shitty part of town, and stole electricity and filmed the movie in there. I mean, it is like, holy shit. Yeah, very, very good watch. That's for sure. Oh, and speaking of other things to watch,
we've steered it into streaming.
Yeah, Disney Plus came out, and apparently, what was it?
Their
people
app
couldn't
crashed.
Okay, yeah.
It was not. Apparently, Disney kind of slow played the demand for their service.
Well, what I thought was amazing. I mean, this is it's just a coincidence, but it was an amazing one. Is here in Michigan, we had a stupid amount of snowfall on the day that it premiered. And half the schools in this area and in southeast Michigan were on snow days. And I'm like, Disney Plus must have had a huge first day. I bet their numbers were huge from kids staying home.
Yeah, no shit.
Hey, so is the snow still there, by the way? I got out of town.
Oh, yeah.
Before it all showed up.
It's going to get a little warmer tomorrow, so it might melt some of it away. But yeah.
The true white devil, the snow is still here. Yes. I tell you, I don't know how, when I was a kid, I used to love this shit, because now as an adult, I'm like, fuck anything to do with snow. I don't want nothing to do with it. As I got older, I was like, it could snow on Christmas. Fuck that. I want Christmas with palm trees. Fuck this shit. Fuck this snow. I'm over it.
The thing is, if you don't got money, that's all you see falling out of the sky is something that's going to cost you more money, one way or another.
Mm-hmm. Ain't that the fucking truth?
Yeah. But Disney Plus.
Yes. Podcast.
Yeah, that's a good
Southeast
point.
Michigan only.
Yeah, it wasn't just Michigan that got hit with that storm. I bet you that was part of the huge load that they had on their servers on that first day. But I mean, I don't know how you can underestimate the demand for it. People have been going nuts for this shit.
Well, you have what? You got the entire Disney universe. You got the MCU. You got the Simpsons. You got the Star Wars. How could you underestimate demand for this? You have all the fun.
Yeah.
Yes, Walt Disney's plan of world domination is coming together nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. And I mean, hey, I've only watched one thing from Disney Plus, but I enjoyed it quite a bit, and that was The Mandalorian.
You guys both saw it. Is it good? Is it as good as the previews and the word of mouth will lead you to believe? Did it deliver?
Excuse me.
Well, it's
that
interesting.
Exhale doesn't bode well for this conversation.
Well, there's not really much there. Like, does it deliver on the preview? Yes, it does. Does it deliver anything else? No. Like, nothing else. And it gives it doesn't even really introduce us to the main character. It's one thing to have somebody who doesn't take off their helmet ever, and we just hear this like processed voice through a helmet. It's another thing to not give that person wearing the helmet much of a personality or any inkling as to what this person's goals or drives are. Who are they? What is the... I understand that you can build a character with mystery behind them and still present a compelling character, right? It should make them more compelling. There's just nothing there. I mean, it looks great. It looks fantastic. And there's a lot of things to like about it as well. I guess, it's part of the look, not just the direction of it. The costume's great. CGI all looks fantastic. I have no beef with that. I like a lot of the tone of it. It's very kind of snarky, whimsical in ways that I think The Last Jedi tried to be and didn't pull off successfully. I think this actually does it quite well. Brian Posehn is in it, and he plays a taxi driver. This is a Mandalorian, grabs his bounty. He goes to get a taxi back to his ship, a land speeder, and he's got a thing against droids. So he turns down this sleek-looking new speeder because it's droid piloted. He insists on having a human driver. The only human driver one they got is driving a jalopy, and it's Brian Posehn. And there's some interaction there. There's the collar that the Mandalorian picks up at the beginning of the show definitely has definitely playing it up, hamming it up for humor. but it works for me. It all seems like it's very in-universe humor, right? It's not what happened in The Last Jedi where a joke got transported from our universe into the Star Wars universe. Right?
Yeah, I'll hold. There's call waiting. There's holding in the Star Wars universe.
I've been trying to repress that. You guys had to bring that up.
Right. So it does, it balances the tone quite nicely of building up a little bit of mystery, having, letting us know that this is going to be a little bit more of on one side, a more lighthearted romp, maybe, that isn't taking itself so seriously, but also more concentrating on, on the fight scenes and a little bit more implied violence, right? I'm not saying this show is violent by any means, but it is a little bit of a step further than they've gone in the movies. The IG droid that he encounters, I thought was great. And the first time that I actually saw a little bit of personality out of the Mandalorian, he pairs up with a bounty droid, who is another version of what we saw in Empire, IG-88. And one of those designs that I've always loved for its just creepy simplicity, and always wondered too that, we've never really seen this thing in action. It's a bounty droid, but what does it really do? And we get to see that, and it fucking kicks ass. And the interaction between the IG droid and the bounty and the Mandalorian, I thought was nice, and it gave us something to draw out maybe a little bit of personality from this character and give us something to go with. But then he shoots the droid at the end of the first episode, so there's going to be no more of that.
Well, I mean,
and full spoilers.
They've already set up that there's more than one IG bounty hunter droid.
Sure.
So we'll probably see another one if, what I'm saying?
We'll see that again. But I think that they should have kept them on, and that should have been a little bit of a buddy thing going on between the two of them. I like the vibe. I would rather see that than Lone Wolf and Cub in the Star Wars universe with not Boba Fett and Baby Yoda. And that's what they set up with this first episode. Sorry, Chris, I'm full on spoiling it.
Well, to be honest with you, it kind of ends on a small cliffhanger. So I mean, like,
cliffhanger. He kills the droid and then sticks his finger out for the Baby Yoda to touch.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like it's just, but you don't know why, who exactly wants this bounty, why they want this bounty. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not. There's a lot of mystery. There's a lot that I imagine is going to be unveiled about this character. I'm just saying that for a pilot episode, they failed miserably in presenting us with an interesting character that we would be attached to in any way. It delivered on everything else just fine. But if you don't have, and everybody else in the show is disposable, right? That's the Mandalorian is going to be about the Mandalorian and this Yoda baby, obviously, because everybody else that shows up in this dies or is left in carbonite. The droid is killed. Everybody at that fort was killed. Brian Posehn was eaten. The guys in the cantina in the first scene were all killed. I think Nick Nolte was the only guy who doesn't die besides the Mandalorian. Here is where I think releasing entire seasons on the same day has kind of ruined us as a society of television watchers, because
I agree.
This reminds me of, like, when you first watch the first episode of something like, The Wire or Oz or something like that. You're like, you're asking me to be invested in characters that I just don't care about yet. Whereas if we had the 8, 10, whatever it's going to be episodes, and you could power through them in one sitting, or, break it up over, 2 sittings, whatever. Because I only think it's about 45 minutes long. It wasn't a full hour. I know that.
38 minutes, something like that.
Yeah. sometimes it takes a few episodes to be like, okay, and to get into the flow of the show, because the first episode is obviously setting things up. I thought they did a pretty good job of setting up the character, as far as I thought it was going to be Boba Fett, who talks a little bit, a bounty hunter who talks a little bit more than Boba Fett, and is like almost Judge Dredd type serious. And it's more kind of Han Solo in Boba Fett's armor. Like, you get like when he's trying to ride the one creature and he's falling off.
Oh,
and
please don't remind. That was the worst. Really? He's
and I'm like,
fish leg whisperer. Like, what the fuck is going on?
And then like the back and forth with
that was the only
bounty
full
hunter
scene that like just totally pissed me off.
Oh, it did. That's what I'm saying. That was the first sign of like, oh, okay, they're not going to just make him just pure badass. There's going to be a comedic element to this character.
They did.
It's a
cheap,
on the
tropey
nose.
ways of trying to build character by by showing their human side, right? Without actually building any character. There's still, all I'm saying is if you're going to have a character who's not going to show their face for the whole first pilot at least, then you need to work overtime in making sure that you put something identifiable to that character to make us want to tune in next time to see what happens to that character. And look, people are going to tune in either way, right? So am I. Because there's no way I'm missing out on these cool fight scenes with stuff that I haven't seen before. It's going to be enjoyable. Is it going to be the transcendent, universe expanding experience that I had hopes for? Obviously not. I mean, maybe it has some surprises up its sleeve, but if just the tone of what's going on in this pilot episode is what's going to be for this whole season, this is just going to be a fun little romp with somebody's action figure collection, getting to see them do everything that we didn't get to see them do in the movies. And I'm going to watch it all. I'm going to watch every last episode of it.
Well,
because it looks great, but it's not going to be what I want.
Oh, I took a completely different takeaway from it. So to me, it was like, okay, I get it. I understand it. And if he'd have popped his helmet off in the first episode, I'd have been like, am I watching Star Wars' version of 95 Judge Dredd?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Judge Dredd is a perfect example, though, because in the Carl Urban version of Judge Dredd, we don't ever see anything above his upper lip. He has his helmet on the whole time. But Carl Urban is good enough, and the script was good enough, and the director was good enough that they managed to still build as fully rounded as a character like Judge Dredd can be, who is really singular-minded. But they got their point across. You understood that character. You understood what his motivations were. This was the Judge Dredd that we knew from the comics, because the Judge Dredd that we know from the comics he's married to the law, right? That's all there is. He doesn't have a personal life. He doesn't care about little things like gossip or entertainment or anything. It's, if I'm awake, I am seeking out people who are breaking the law and bringing them to justice.
Well, I mean, that's the thing I'm saying. To me, you have to walk. I think part of the reason that the 2012 Judge Dredd movie didn't do as well is because too many people came to Judge Dredd through that abortion of a movie that Stallone was in. I am the law.
They thought it was law? Just... Well,
I mean, like, come on. And he's popping his helmet off within, 10 minutes of being on screen? Something he's never done in the comic books, ever?
They didn't get the main character quite right, but they got a lot else really right in that movie.
The world looked great. The First Earth was on point, but unfortunately...
It's almost, I want to see a marriage of the two for the perfect Judge Dredd movie, right? Because while I really liked the Carl Urban version and I really enjoyed the movie overall, only still skimmed. It got the character right, but it skimmed the surface of the world of Judge Dredd, whereas the Sylvester Stallone version actually immerses us more in the world. If you read those original Judge Dredd comics, they are dystopian parody. They are mirroring the most ridiculous parts of our own society in these extreme ways. And that's what that original movie was doing. They don't really get into that so much in the second movie. Not the second movie, but the Carl Urban version is much more of a straightforward shoot 'em up, and it's a great movie. It's more in line with a John Wick film or something, where you wouldn't expect to see any kind of social commentary. Would seem really out of place in the middle of a John Wick film, and it really had no place in that Carl Urban version of Judge Dredd. But that's important to Judge Dredd comics. I mean, that's what they are.
See, I don't know. To me, you say, a marriage of the two movies. To me, I think that's what The Mandalorian is trying to do. I think it's trying to give you a little from this and a little from that, and then throw in a little bit of the Disney type. I mean, because here's the thing. I've learned to lower my expectations anytime I hear anything that I love is coming out, because I've just been disappointed so much. You know what I'm saying? Like, case in point, the Dark Tower movie. When that movie came out, I was like, I'm going into it with no expectations, and I walked out not disappointed because I had no expectations. They completely fucked up that entire story, the entire series, the entire world building. This feels true to the Star Wars world. In fact, a lot of the characters, like when he's visiting worlds, it's more true to the original trilogy than the prequels or the sequel trilogy. I mean, these are practical effects. These are people in full on costumes. They're not CGI. I mean, it seems like there's certain callbacks and tropes in the Star Wars universe, and apparently everybody's got to go to a cantina with a ton of aliens at some point. And I mean, so it's no big shocker he goes to a cantina with a bunch of aliens, and I'm like, oh wow, those are actual people. That's not CGI. It's not, the prequels where there's nothing real built above knee high. Everything's computer generated. And it kind of reminded me of Rogue One in a way. It's the grittier side of Star Wars, because if you really think about Star Wars, you're watching, except for, you're watching like the 1% in Star Wars. You're watching the top people of the Resistance and the top people of the Empire. You never really get down to the everyday life that the people that they live. You know what I'm saying? It's like watching Game of Thrones. You're watching the people who are fighting to be at the top of the pyramid. You really don't get a taste, of everyday slice of life, what the average person goes through in this universe.
Right.
This is
watching Dr. Strangelove. If you cut out all the scenes where they went to the bomber and the regular people. Yeah, and I mean, so I just saw the people at the top that were pulling all the strings.
And I had to keep reminding myself of this. Like when I was thinking about, what I was going to say about it, I'm like, you said it's 38 minutes. That sounds about right. I think I said 45. I gave it too much. It does
credit. A lot with those 38. I mean that.
Oh, there's no wasted time. That's for sure.
I didn't feel cheated at all. They made great use of the time. I'm surprised that in this day of streaming that they just didn't go, let's pad out a lot of these scenes so we at least get to 50 minutes.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was exactly as long as it needed to be. Like, that's the thing. Ultimately, there's more that this gets right than it gets wrong.
Well, what I was going to say
is, for my taste in entertainment, if you're not starting with character and if you're not showing me a compelling character, then there's not a lot of reason for me to keep coming back. Now, in the case of Star Wars, like I said, I'm a sucker. I don't know how shitty they have to make these movies or TV shows before I stop watching them, but I'll let you know. Because
wait a minute,
I've
what was
seen
that
all-
horrible cartoon, Power of the Force or whatever? No, the Ewok movies. That's where I draw the line. The 80s made-for-television Ewok
seen
movies.
them.
No, I seen them too. I'm just saying. Hey, like, my buddy's got it on his server, and he's like, I just scroll past them. No, I won't look at these things again. I watched these things when I was a child, and even as a child, I was like, this sucks. This is garbage. That and the Droids cartoon that came out when we were kids, and I think the whole reason they released that cartoon was so they could push that C-3PO cereal that they put out for a while. That's like that's the bottom of the barrel for me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, here's the thing, though. Why do I care who the Mandalorian is? Like, if you can't show me who the Mandalorian is and say, hey, this Mandalorian is a compelling character that has a good reason to lead up his own series, then you need to show me why I care about who this person is.
Well, that's what I was getting at. That's what I was getting at. You, when I brought up and
it relies too much on knowing, like having watched Clone Wars or knowing something about Mandalorians or giving a shit about any of this. I mean, the scene where there's just two people in helmets talking, I was like, what the fuck am I watching?
That's why when I brought up the comparison to the 2012 Dredd movie, this show, the first episode is all we have. It's 38 minutes. That movie was almost 2 hours long. We've, if you want to say, like, we have a third, they've had a third of the time to set up that they would have had for a feature length film. And since it's a TV show, I'll give it a little bit more time to set it up. I don't need.
The movie only has 15 minutes, usually less than that, to give you a good reason to care about their main character. Otherwise, why would you stick it out for the rest of the movie?
I don't know. If I'm at a theater, because I just paid fucking $20 to sit down in this.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my seat's worth of time. That's all I know. But look, I understand, and the character I expected it to be a lot more straight ahead, badass, no jokes, no frills, and they threw me a curveball, and I was like, you know what? I don't mind it. That was a good pitch. I'll take it.
I had no expectations, and I got exactly what I expected. Nothing. I got a blank slate still.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net. Unregimented.
I mean, let's put it this way. There's been plenty of shows that have started out that I was fully on board with, and over time have been like, no, I can't do it. Walking Dead's one of them. I've given up. I have no idea what's going on. I don't even know. I stopped watching before Rick was even off the show. I have no idea what happened there. Don't care. People at work talk about it, and it's just like, want. Charlie Brown's teacher. Right. It's what it sounds like to me.
But
I'm slowly getting to that point with The Watchmen where I'm just like, I haven't even made it through episode 4. I'm just like, I just don't care. Everyone's horrible in this fucking show. Everybody's an asshole.
What? It keeps getting better.
See,
I'm really enjoying The Watchmen.
I'm just like, everybody's fucking just garbage in this show. I mean, the acting it's well acted.
And broken, yes, but the two main characters are so compelling in that scene where they finally face off against one another, and neither of them really gives an inch. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's big old wet fart for me. I'm just like, I don't care. I don't care about anything that's happening. I don't care about any of these characters. It's been 4 episodes. It's what, an 8-episode run, or is it 10? I mean, if it's 10, I'll give it one more episode. But if it's 8 and I'm halfway through and I feel this way,
just give up. No, right. Yeah. This show isn't going to be any different. But if you don't care about these characters at this point, then obviously the show's not for you.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just like, it happens, you know. I did the same thing with Dexter. The only reason I never even watched the last season of Dexter as it aired. I only watched it like a year or two after it was finished, just because
I could never get into that show.
Just because I hadn't seen it. I was like, I might as well watch it. And I watched it, and I was like, this is fucking horrible. They should have just ended this at the end of the 4th season. But, you know, like I said,
I'm a sucker for Damon Lindelof, right? The guy who did The Leftovers. I absolutely love that show. And I think he knows how to balance the mystery just right, giving you enough to keep you curious, right? This is what The Mandalorian didn't do. It didn't even give me enough to keep me curious. But it also, I mean, there's just amazing performances from was it Regina King and Gene Smart. I'll pretty much watch either one of those in anything, and having them in the same show, I'm in heaven.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, nothing against the acting. The acting's been fine. It's just, for whatever reason, I'm like, story, maybe I expected more world building. I don't know. Maybe because unfortunately I'm one of those people that came to Watchmen through the movie first and then went back and read the comic. And this is very much like a continuation of the comic versus the whole raining squid thing. I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, that's right, in the comic book. Yeah, it's not, what it was in the movie. Oh, okay. So maybe, I mean, like I said, it's just like, unfortunately, I like, it's like a lot of things. I'm like, I go into it and I'm like, wow, I'm really, I want to like this. And I get there and I'm like, it's just not for me, I guess. I don't know. So something in me must be broke. Because I'm just like,
No, I think,
but I mean, I do like
interesting that
sounds
we
like
have,
you with marriage, Rich.
Pretty much.
Well, we both went into The Watchmen and The Mandalorian wanting to like it, and having that being based off of really nothing but nostalgia, right? My favorite Star Wars movie has always been Empire. I don't think anything's going to beat that. This Mandalorian show was made for people whose favorite Star Wars movie is Empire.
Yeah, I can see that, definitely.
And I don't know. It's just interesting. We both went into this with nostalgic baggage and came away with very different experiences on each show.
See, I've read and watched quite a few people's different takes on Watchmen, and it seems like if you came to Watchmen through the comics or the graphic novel, you're really into the show. If you came to it later or through the movie, it seems like more people are like, like I get it, but it's just like, it's not gripping me. And it's like, I kind of feel like I'm in the middle because, I mean, to be honest with you, the movie, I didn't think the movie was that great. You know what I thought the best part of the movie was? The opening montage showing the heroes through the years.
I quite enjoyed the movie for what it was, but I think the difference isn't so much about being a fan of the comic or the movie. I think it's a difference in the understanding of what Watchmen is, or maybe let's not even say understanding, because that's like saying, I read something into it that you didn't, so I'm like enjoying it on a different level. But if you read or watched Watchmen, but most likely read in this case, and you came away from that book understanding that this was political commentary, that this was superhero farce, that this is all playing on themes from comic books and playing on fears that the society in general was experiencing at the time, then I think that you'll enjoy the show very much. If you think that Watchmen was about superheroes being bad and raping and killing people, then you're probably wondering what the fuck this show is. And the Watchmen movie it's so faithful to the visual content that it misses out on the bigger picture. That's its biggest crime. And so, I mean, some people, that's all they're going to take away from a movie like that, is that it was just a fun, violent, fucked up movie. That's fine. But also, Zack Snyder really didn't put anything other than that in the movie. He was so focused on reproducing this great graphic novel in another visual medium that he forgot to bring along the actual message with the material.
I definitely, once I read the comic, I was like, oh, okay, I got the criticism of people going, Zack Snyder was too concerned about the look and not more concerned about the point.
Themes,
yes. That's a better word than point. But yeah, and I'm like, okay, I get that now. Whereas like when I first saw the movie, I was just like, some of the stuff I was like, really? Did a 12-year-old do this? Like when they're screwing in the Owlmobile and she accidentally hits the fire button just as he nuts. I'm like, really? Because in the comic book, she was looking for a lighter in the thing and accidentally set it off. Like, you had to change that? Like, we get it. They're fucking, dude. Is this your first time filming a sex scene? And now that I think about it, I think it was his first time. First time filming a sex scene. So I can't even tell him to act like he's been there before. Oh, man. But yeah, no, it's you know what? Maybe now that I think about it, maybe it's for whatever reason I'm just not into what's Lindelof? Is that his name? The writer?
I don't know. Don't make me say it again.
Well, the guy. Anyways, I didn't realize he did like Cowboys and Aliens and. I looked at his list of work and I was just like, I'm not really into any of this stuff. So maybe it's just for whatever reason he's just one of those guys that just leaves me flat. And I'm like, okay. The Leftovers, I gave that a couple at bats with, man. Like I went up there and dug in and was like, there's something here that is compelling, but ultimately I was just like, I don't care. And it's just
the movie, that show, I think was so perfect because it was like watching I don't know how to explain this. It was like watching a magic trick almost, where you keep thinking that you're going to get the reveal and then it's just another trick, right? Like every time the magician flips over the card, instead of seeing the backside of the card, right, you see it's just another card, and they keep flipping it over, and it's just another card and another card and another card. Like, you think that there's going to be answers behind this door, and it's just another room with another door on the other side. And you open that one, and it's just another room with another door on the other side. And he just strings you along for the whole way with this idea of like, because he's dealing with these huge issues that he's going to answer some kind of question for you. All along the way, I mean, every episode starts off with a variation of the same theme song that sings about, let the mystery be. There's no way you can there's unknowable things. And that's really what it's about. Ultimately, the show is about learning to become comfortable with the unknown.
And maybe this might be one of those situations. This might be one of those situations where 2 years down the road, I go back and revisit it and everything clicks, because I've had that happen before. I mean, when I finished the Dark Tower, the last Dark Tower book, I put that book down. My ex-wife had the best thing to say about that. She goes, that book broke you. She's like, I've never seen you so disappointed in about anything in entertainment ever. Like, you come, she goes, you literally came out of the bedroom and I just blurted out the end of the book and you looked like a beaten man. I was like, I was like, really? All that for this? And then it hit me like a few years later, going back and rereading the series. I'm like, you know what? I was kind of plowing through it to get to the end, thinking that, okay, there's going to be this big, finale here, that I missed the joy of the journey. And that's kind of what that series is about. And, enjoy the journey. Don't get so focused on a destination you never stop and take a look around.
Yeah.
And I mean, that series, it's about that. It's about addiction to a certain extent. I mean, I could get lost way in the weeds with this, but I won't. But I mean, it took me a few years and getting away from it and coming back to it. So maybe that's what it'll take. Maybe like by the time season 2 rolls around, I'll be like, "Fuck yeah, I can't wait for season 2, man."
Oh, The Watchmen.
Yeah. I mean, it might take that. And here's another thing. I do, once again, going back to I'm spoiled. I'm like, I gotta wait a week for another episode. Really? Come on, man. Can I just Can I just like go to sleep for 3 weeks and build up a couple episodes? So maybe that's it. Maybe I'm expecting that type stuff.
No, I hear you. And they were doing that with the Wu-Tang shows. What's this shit? I got to wait a week? No, you've retrained me. I want it all now.
That's why. How come I haven't even begun to watch season 2 of Castle Rock? I'm like, I want to. Well, it's one of the reasons. The other reason is the first season I had no idea what to expect. I think the first season was really good.
I was hoping that you had at least watched the pilot of season 2, not the pilot, but the first episode of season 2.
I haven't yet. I think the other reason is because Annie Wilkes. I don't know. This is just what has been reported. Annie Wilkes from Misery, the antagonist, essentially.
Yeah.
From Misery, it plays a big role in this season, and I'm just like, I read the book before I saw the movie, and I didn't hate that character as much as when I saw the movie. Kathy Bates made me despise that bitch. Like, she did such a good job. For a long time, I was like, fuck Kathy Bates. And then people were like, why? I'm like, have you seen Misery? You understand it's called acting, right? Like, she's not that, right? And I'm like, I know, but sometimes it's like, if I saw the guy who played Joffrey, I'd be like, you little shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
honestly, Kathy Bates is an amazing actor. So is Lizzie Kaplan. I think she's really compelling. I like her portrayal of the character, at least from what I've seen in that first episode. I don't know. I don't want to. Maybe we can revisit this after you've watched it, because I don't want to spoil anything for you. And I don't want to shit on your experience of it either. But it just didn't feel like a Stephen King story. Like, everything about that season 1 Castle Rock, while it was just taking elements from the world, it definitely felt like a Stephen King story. It balanced the right amount of human pathos with supernatural freakiness and mystery, and keeps leading you on each episode, unraveling a little bit more. It really felt like a Stephen King novel. And again, I'm judging it just by that first episode. I was kind of thrown by it, and there's so much out there to watch that I haven't gotten back to it. But I do intend to push forward, because I loved season 1 so much.
Oh, yeah.
And I just thought it just knocked it out of the park on every aspect. The directing, the casting, the script, everything really came together, and it did something that isn't easy, right? They're not adapting material. They're just trying to play in a world and play proper homage to that world.
Well, one of the spoiler-free reviews I have read of season 2 so far is there really is 2 Stephen Kings as a writer. There's Stephen King before he got sober, and there's Stephen King after he got sober. Mm-hmm. And like his last novel he put out while he was still, a practicing alcoholic and cokehead was Tommyknockers, and boy does it show. Like, he hit bottom. That's probably one of his worst books, period.
Yeah, I didn't hate that book, but it was kind of like reading Naked Lunch.
Yes, yeah. It is
almost, some of it is just stream of consciousness. Like, where are you going with this?
Exactly. It's being in the bathroom with a guy you hardly know at 3 a.m. because he's got the 8-ball, yeah. And he just keeps talking and talking and talking, and you're like, "We gonna cut up another line or what, bro?" But
right, he's telling you about how Bigfoot is the UFO pilot, and you're just like, whatever. As long as you keep cutting, I'll keep nodding.
And then once he got clean, his books are really hit or miss with me. I like The Dark Half, which was his first book he wrote completely clean and sober. I think is really good.
I love that book. That's one of my favorites.
And then there's like there's just they're so bad I can't Bag of Bones. I was like, what?
Didn't read it.
Yeah, you're not missing anything. And they said if you're a true Stephen King fan, you understand there's two Stephen Kings. And I was like, okay, so this reviewer and me are on the same page. And he went on to say, season 2 feels more like Stephen King after he got sober, meaning everyone expects Stephen King to be horror constantly, but people forget that, like, you know, he did put out Shawshank Redemption and the book. Well, it was a collection of novellas, but it was called The Body, but they turned it into Stand By Me. Those were all in the same book. The closest thing to horror in that book was Apt Pupil. That was about it. And that was more like, that wasn't supernatural horror, like, you know, The Shining or something. That was just the
psychological
horror, that humans do to each other. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, so I could be going into like Dolores Claiborne Part 2, or I could be walking into The Dark Half. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know which one. And it's like, I
wish it was more dark. I mean, we'll see.
But I think it's got to be almost finished. I think there's like eight or so episodes that have aired. So there's a good enough chunk to where I can binge them and go, I'll stick with it, or be like, no, just this season, not doing it for me.
Like I said, I didn't hate it. I wasn't like, what the fuck is going on here? I was just like, this doesn't feel like the magic that happened in season 1.
Which is, anytime you have an anthology series that changes up the story and characters, you know, resets every season, that's kind of what you run into. I mean, I'm not into the show. I gave it a go and I just couldn't get into it. It seemed like American Horror Story is the show I'm talking about. The writing seemed like just barely above Saved by the Bell.
I cannot watch that show. I've tried.
You know, I'm like, there are some very good actors and actresses on this show.
Oh yeah,
and this is horrible. This is like watching a high school play. This is bad. Yes. You know? But yeah, I mean that's what you run into, because I have friends who are diehard fans of that, and there's been like 8-9 seasons now, and they're like, this season, that's great. These other seasons, they fucking suck. I didn't even finish them. And I was like, wow, okay. That's a risky run with an anthology show, though. So, I don't know. We'll see
an anthology show that really works for me, and that I'm excited for the comeback, is Fargo. I resisted that for a while. I didn't get into Fargo until midway through season 2. And I just think it's fantastic.
That's one that, just for whatever reason, it's not that it's off my radar. I just keep forgetting about it until someone brings it up. But I guarantee you in an hour I'll forget that we talked about it. And it's got Ewan McGregor in it at one point, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that should be the selling point right there.
Is Ewan McGregor. He plays, well, anyway. But yeah, if you're going to watch it, just watch it.
He plays twins.
Yeah.
What's it? Man, it's this whole conversation. People watch TV differently. Mandy, she loved season 1. She didn't finish season 2
of
Fargo.
Yeah, yeah. Season 2. Once they get season 1 out of the way, I think the show creator, I can't remember his name, but the same guy who did Legion, and I think he definitely felt freer to experiment more in season 2 and lean more into the weirdness.
Well, to me, it's just maybe it's just me. I don't know, but it's like, it's really hard to follow. Oh shit! I just forgot the guys who directed Fargo.
Coen Brothers.
Coen Brothers. Thank you. That's a hard act to follow. You know what I'm saying? It's like they've made some. I mean, just movies that are, like, to me, classics.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, even as a little kid, when I didn't get everything about some of their movies, like Raising Arizona, I still love the movie. You know?
Absolutely. Raising Arizona is a movie that I constantly go back through it. Any stage of my life, I'm able to find something new in that movie.
Yeah, that's one that's stood the test of time for me, definitely.
Yeah, the Fargo TV show, I think season 1 does the best job of kind of replicating that tone. The more quirkier side of the Coen Brothers movies. It kind of just becomes its own thing from there. The only thing that really remains constant is that this idea of regular people getting wrapped up in the doings of criminal organizations.
Yeah.
That's really the common theme throughout. But yeah.
Yeah, it lost her. I remember her saying I remember hearing several times what the fuck is this shit? I can't follow this.
Yeah.
In the second season.
Well, didn't you say she's a huge Law and Order fan?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So maybe she's not into non-linear storytelling. I don't know because
No, some of the shit I have to sit through. She's quite eclectic. But there's just some shit where if it gets too quirky for her, she's out.
Yeah, where I kind of lean into that. I don't mind if things get really abstract. That's why I'm a David Lynch fan, because as long as the tone is right, it works for me.
Well, to paraphrase you, it takes her out of it. It takes her out of the story.
Yeah,
and not a fan. All right. So I think I'll try to watch a Mandalorian regardless. It really is fascinating sitting to listen to you guys take two completely different things away from the same TV show. So it's got me sold.
No, it's definitely entertaining. I just think if it doesn't get any deeper than this, it's a missed opportunity.
I read one review that called it fan service. So if you're not a fan of Star Wars and you're trying to get into Star Wars, this is not the show for you.
No.
Because you're going to come in and be like, what the fuck is going on? It expects you to know some shit about the Star Wars universe.
It's like, if you came in on The Force Awakens, you missed all of the member berries. Is that kind of what you're going for here?
I guess that's what he was. Yeah. You'd be like, who's this? What? Why should I care about Harrison Ford's character and his son killing him? I don't give a shit. Why is he home? Because he's on this starship. That doesn't even make sense. Shit like that.
All right. Is that it, guys?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I was about to say something, and then I realized Thanksgiving was in 2 weeks. So never mind. I'll just remind you we're on social media at Unregimented Pod. Email us unregimented@christophermedia.net if you feel so inclined. If you'd like to be like Dawn and donate to us, hit the PayPal button at christophermedia.net. There is also Amazon banner. It's Christmas shopping time. It's a way to help us out without spending any extra money. We're on Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app.
Amazon banner is like two birds with one stone, right? You can get a gift for somebody else and for us at the same time without spending any extra money.
Yeah.
If you want to get a legit gift for one of us, mainly me, I wear a size 59 Stratocaster.
What are you fucking... What are you, cam girl?
Yeah, I'm going to have guys order food for...
So visit your Amazon list?
No, come on. I don't have an Amazon list. I have a Steam wish list. You can go to that, though. Anyway,
check us out on Saturdays, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
Later, guys.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net. If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for listening, and thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.